you go to allblacknationalconvention.com, that's allblacknationalconvention.com. You can check it out. This year's different because we're partnering with the National Business League and other Black organizations to create the biggest, blackest, most intelligent event that you've ever seen in your life. There's been nothing like this. Maybe 100 years ago, maybe Black folks did something like this, but I haven't seen anything like this. And we've got delegations coming from Africa and all around the world. And it pretty much the theme, most of the themes, a lot of the themes going to focus on business and economics and making money and financial success and all the things that we're aiming for as Black people, just all the things that are going to make us economically successful. Now, we're also going to have the therapists and the medical doctors and the attorneys and everything else so we can have all those other broader based interactions. But for the most part, the economics is kind of where everything starts, and that's what this is. That's what's going to happen here. Is thousands of people, intelligent people who understand the importance of Black economic intelligence, Black economic independence, and us just winning generally as a community. So if you want to join us, just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. And I have to tell you that because we're partnering, it's a little bit tougher to, do steep discounts or things like that. So rather than do that, we bake the discount in. The ticket cost is not, I know a lot of these conferences cost over $1,000 to attend and everything else. I can't remember the price, but it's literally like less, like a couple $100 or less, right? So basically, we baked all that in. So that price that you see on allblacknationalconvention.com, that's the lowest price that we can charge. We can't change that. So hopefully you guys will join us because anybody who's ever been to the convention knows how amazing it is. If you haven't been, you don't know what you're missing. I can tell you that it will change your life. I can tell you that you will meet people that you will thank God for, that you know them, that you have them in your circle. Also, the other thing too is there's a clear instruction plan, right? When you talk about what does it take for us to get ahead financially? What does it take for us to build things that actually work economically? What does it take to put more money in your pocket? Well, we have the formula. We already know how to do that. We've already got thousands of students in here right now who made money last week because that's the goal. That's the science. That's what we focused on. So the same way there's a science to, I'm sure there's a science to twerking. There's a science to rapping. We've mastered the science of Black economics because that's what we studied. That's what my PhD is. Well, my PhD is in the stock market, but I pretty much took that and applied it specifically to solving the economic problems that matter in the Black community because those are the problems that I care about. I don't. It doesn't mean I don't care about other communities. I just have to focus on this one because this is the one I came from, and we've solved this problem. This is not something we're working to solve. This is something that we've done. So anyway, if you want to join us at the convention, feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. All right, now I want to ask you all this. How many of y'all went to the Essence Music Fest this year? Did anybody go to the Essence Fest this year? The Essence Fest is you guys know it's a big event that happens once a year, and it's really really good. I have a lot of fun there. They have a lot of great, their conference is a little bit different from ours in the sense that they do have some stuff there that's informative and educational, but a lot of it's also the music and the entertainment and all that. We specifically chose to kind of shift away from that a little bit. We figure there's plenty of places you can go to sing and dance the entire time. And so even though we do have the B1 ball where we bring in performers and we've had rappers and entertainers, but for the most part, we kind of focus on sort of the building thing, like bringing people together, forming family investment clubs, rebuilding the Black family, sort of disconnecting from the influence of outsiders to some extent. Like that's our goal. But I like the Essence Fest. I have no problem with the Essence Fest, and it's a lot of fun. I think well I went there a few years ago, but then also the time I one time I remember going to the Essence Fest I'll never forget is I went the year before Hurricane Katrina. And I remember just thinking, man, like, wow, just 1 year later, the whole city got devastated with the hurricane, which was absolutely terrible. And so anyway, the Essence Fest is it happens once a year. Most of you know what it is. And I thought that it would be interesting to kind of do an analysis on the Essence Fest. I did a quick little conversation about it on my Instagram, which is Dr. Boyce Finance. I'm actually going to play that for you first. And then before I play that for you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go a little deeper on the discussion. A lot of you were interested in the topic. I think 40, 50,000 people watched the video on it. I put on a couple platforms and a lot of people seemed interested in it. So I said, okay, maybe this means that there's more to talk about here. And so let me share this video with you and hopefully you guys can hear it and see it okay. So give me a second here. I'm going to play this video and let me know if you can hear the sound. And this is me literally walking through my basement. So forgive me for the fact that it's probably looking like unprofessional and ghetto, but here it is.
Is not selling as many tickets as they used to, and a lot of vendors are backing out, at least according to several reports. And even the company itself says that they're having some issues that they have to resolve. I think the Essence Fest is really amazing. It's a great opportunity for people to gather, great performers, just a great experience. I've been there a couple times myself. I'm not surprised that they're having these problems this year, largely because sometimes what happens is that if you're too dependent on corporate sponsors or DEI-based initiatives to fund whatever you're trying to do, then when you have those things pulled back, it ends up making it more difficult for you to do what you did before. So a lot of the businesses that might have normally been, vendors at the Essence Fest, a lot of them may have relied on DEI relationships with corporations or with the government, and we know all that's dead. And that's unfortunate. I don't think that that's right, but that's life. That's what it is. And so in the Black Business School, one of the things we never did was we never took money from the government. We never took money from corporations because of things like this. You have to be really careful to understand that the people who feed you also have the power to starve you. So building a sustainable business with diversified revenue streams and various ways to generate income and also running it conservatively is critically important if you want to keep your business solid during difficult times, right? So ultimately, I think the Essence Fest is going to be fine. They're going to keep making their money, but the decline in sales and the decline in sponsors and vendors and everything else is, in my view, indicative of a general downturn in the Black economy, which struggles because it's too dependent upon the goodwill of the white economy. So what do we do? Well, one of the things that we do is we teach kids and we teach each other the importance of basic economic fundamentals like diversification, learning how to sell products, learning how to be conservative with your spending and your investing so that when you run into the tough times, because they always come, you'll be ready to deal with that. So anyway, my name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm a finance professor. I taught at Syracuse University for 12 years, and I also teach every single morning for free in the Black Business School. If you want to join our free class in the morning, just text that word morning to the phone number 87948, or you can visit drboyceelevate.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you every single morning till we get it right. Talk to you later. Love you. Peace.
All right. So I assume everybody could hear that. Let me know if you heard that, if that came through okay. Give me a yes in the chat. Okay. All right, great. Okay, so let's talk about this. Since we're talking about Black economics, I thought that what was going on with Essence, and again, I don't, I've just seen some of the media reports in terms of what's been stated, and it looks like their hotel occupancy rates are down, their ticket sales are down. I've seen some of the commentary online in terms of people's experiences and some of the concerns that they had. Again, though, but my heart goes out to them though because it's really hard to run an event that big. With the All Black National Convention, there's so much work, so much money. It's difficult, and so one of the things I wanted to first of all ask you all is this: give me a yes or no if you have noticed that the Black economy has pretty much hit a recession. Give me a yes if you noticed this. If you've seen any of the data that pretty much says that the Black economy is in a slump. Let me know if you've noticed this. Give me a yes or no if any of you heard about this. Did you know that in April of 2025, Black women lost 106,000 jobs in a single month? How many of y'all heard about that? That Black women actually lost more jobs than anybody else in America. However, the Black male unemployment rate, I think, is still higher than the Black female unemployment rate because Black men are the last hired, first fired. Black men are the most rejected group of people in the country when it comes to this economic system. Black men are the ones who are least welcome into the master's house when it comes to economics. And I say the master's house because that's what it is. When you have a culture where every Black boy is trained to go work for a white boy, right? Every Black boy is going to grow into a Black man who's trained to go look for a job for another white man. I want to just be 100% crystal clear with you and be honest with you and let you know that you're setting him up for economic disappointment and at worst financial self-destruction. Like I just have to be clear about that. And I don't and I know that this is jarring for a lot of people to hear because they want me to say it nicely. But I can't say it nicely and I shouldn't say it nicely because the world is not going to say it nicely when they reject your son from opportunities that he deserves. When they don't let your son have the chances to be successful that he actually earned, maybe because he went to college, he got the master's degree at Duke, or he's a hardworking guy, or he stayed out of jail, he takes care of his kids, he did everything right. But every single statistic that I could put in front of you right now tells us with 100% clarity, with no ambiguity whatsoever, that the black male is the least desired economic partner in this entire economy. Nobody wants to hire your son. And I don't want to say it like that. That sounds really mean and damning because your son probably could get a job somewhere, but all the stats show that he'll be the last hired, that he'll be the first fired, and that he'll be the one that will never truly get the opportunities that he deserves. So this does not just go for black teenagers. This does not just go for young men. This does not just apply for they call them YNs. I hate that term. You ain't a YN. You should be a YK, young king, young leader, young scholar, young thinker, young builder, young genius. Why the hell you want to be a YN? I don't know why in the hell they already calling you a YN. Why are you calling yourself one? That don't make no sense. YN, in case you don't know what it means, you can figure it out. The N word. So here's the deal. This does not just apply to people in a certain demographic. This doesn't just apply to poor people, uneducated people, short, tall, old, old, young. No, this is everybody. I am 54 years old, and I can tell you that even in my own family, I'm a 50, not, no, let me say it again. I'm a 54-year-old man with a PhD in finance who had more education by the age of 25 than most people will have for the rest of their life. And I live in a household where my wife works for a university. I do not. I work for myself. I live in a household where my wife has been on the faculty. She's not just a professor, she's a full professor, which is a big deal, right? Only 1% of the country gets a legitimate PhD. Only about 10% of that 1% ever become full professors. My wife is a full professor. And that institution that she works for has not, in the last 20 years, hired, to my knowledge, a single African American male. Not one African American male is on the faculty. They have an African guy. But y'all know what it is. You know how racism works. They don't see African people as the same as African American people. You have a unique type of discrimination that is specifically reserved for you. You call it the YN treatment. Right? So I ain't even a YN. Maybe I'm a ON or OG or something, but I'm not even a Y. So my point is to say, even I have dealt with this. Where does it come from? It's very political. It's politics. Think about this. I told my wife, she said, Boyce, I don't know why some of these universities wouldn't want to hire somebody like you. You study from the best. Every single member of my dissertation committee went to the University of Chicago, which is like the Vatican of finance. Like literally, my dissertation chair, Andrew Caroli, right now, go Google him. He is now, I think, the dean or something at Cornell, right? So I was trained by the very best on earth. So you would think that all these diversity initiatives, all these universities that say, oh, we're looking for talented black people. We just can't find any intelligent enough black men to take the job. You would think that they'd be clamoring to want to hire someone like me, but of course they wouldn't. And I understand why. I'm not even mad about it. I ain't bitter. I ain't bitter. I want to make it clear. I'm not mad at you. I can understand. I know why you don't want to hire me, and it has nothing to do with my skill set. It's political. I am the biggest threat that you have ever seen. I am your worst freaking nightmare. I am not showing up groveling. I'm not showing up grateful that you just given me an opportunity. I don't look at you as my superior. I look at you as my peer. I don't I'm not I'm not gonna sit here and kowtow and do what a lot of academics and a lot of scholars do, which is pretty much like eat whatever crap you feed us and then regurgitate the crap. You got even some of your greatest black thinkers regurgitating nonsense because they're trying to fit in. They're regurgitating nonsense because it becomes about the dollars and cents. They're scared of losing their jobs. So in a way, I understand. I tell my wife, I say, well, if I was them, I wouldn't hire me neither. Because I'm on the war path. I'm here to win. I'm here to succeed. I'm here to make my people the best. Right? So my point is to say, and not to talk about my experience. My experience is fine. Boyce is okay. I'm good. But I'm saying to you that typically traditionally that generally the ideal setup for many black families is that maybe the wife can get jobs that the husband cannot get. There are places where she can go where he may not be invited. There's places my gorgeous light-skinned wife can be welcome into because she's seen as a safer option and she understands this. Thank God she gets it. That's why I was happy to marry an African American woman, because African American women that love us understand what it's like to be an African American male. So she understands that. So here's my point on this. And just to finish that part of the story, let me tell you, my wife was in very good standing with her institution. They really loved her, gave her all the promotions and everything, until one thing happened. Until one thing happened. You know what happened? Two things. Actually, let me say this: two things. One, she married a Negro like me. She married me. They Google me. They find out who your husband is, right? She didn't marry like a white man. She didn't marry a Jewish guy, right? You see that, right? You see people getting opportunities because of that. She said, I'm gonna marry me an African American man, and I'm not just gonna marry an African American man. I'm gonna marry an African American man with a big mouth, right? Who's running around saying things that other people are scared to say. That was the first thing. The second thing that happened, but at that point, it wasn't so bad. It was more like, ooh, he's famous, so he's probably rich. So that became kind of the office gossip, like, oh, you married this rich guy, whatever, right? But whatever. I don't care about that. But then the second part of it was there was a scenario where there's one African man on the campus, and he's a great guy. He's a good friend of my wife. They stick together, and he was falsely accused of of basically doing something that offended a white female student. He was falsely accused of saying something in class that made the white female student feel uncomfortable. And so they go to him. They say, "You're under investigation." Now, this guy, by the way, this guy has he had a stellar record. He got his doctorate over 20 something years ago. He's had an extraordinary career. He too is a full professor, which I told you that's very rare. It's very difficult to accomplish that. Um, and so no blemishes. But then suddenly a white woman comes into the office. It's a true story. And she says, well, he said something that made me uncomfortable, right? So they go to him, they say, you're under investigation. He says, well, what am I under investigation for? They say, well, we can't tell you according to Title IX. And then he goes, okay, so who's my accuser? And they said, well, we can't tell you because of Title IX, right? And so he's like, well, so what does that mean? And they're like, well, we're going to investigate you. And they investigated him for an entire year. They called in a fancy law firm from Chicago to investigate him for an entire year. And he's going to all these hearings and meetings with some lawyer sitting there asking him all these questions. And he has no idea who his accuser is, what he's being investigated for, none of that. So this man who spent 25 years building his career, again, no blemishes, no nothing, suddenly is dealing with the stress and the scrutiny of being accused of something. Doesn't even know what he's accused of. Whole career could be up in flames just like that. So I got involved. He asked me, he reached out to me. He said, "Can you come and help me because I don't know what to do?" And I said, "Well, you gotta be careful working with somebody like me because I'm the black man that'll get you fired, right? I'm the one who's gonna walk in and tell it like it is." And that doesn't always work, right? Political correctness tends to work better than actual correctness. I tend to favor, I don't want to be politically correct. I just want to be correct, right? So I'll say, wait, so this does not make sense, right? So I'm like, just as long as you understand, I'm the guy I'm not going to tell you how to get along with racism. I tell you how to overcome it or get away from it. That's my job. My job is I'm going to tell you how to get over it, under, around it, away from it. I'm not going to tell you how to sit there in like the frog in the frying pan and just try not to burn yourself alive. Like I'm not that guy, right? But he called me and I came in, I sat with him through a 2 hour meeting with some lawyer who was like asking him all these questions and he's furious. I didn't blame him. I just sat there and after we got done, I said, I think you should file like a $100 million lawsuit against these bastards because this is unbelievable. You don't even know what you've been accused of. You don't know who your accuser is. They're putting your whole career on the line. You worked your whole life for this. I don't understand. No, again, you never know, right? For all I know, he could have been having Diddy parties in private and not telling nobody. But so I was like, well, I'm not really sure. But I said, based on what I've seen, I've never seen you do anything with students that was inappropriate. He wouldn't even let a student come into his office by herself because he had that fear of white women, which healthy, intelligent black men actually have because they know that a white woman can ruin your life on a Tuesday. I think Cat Williams said that. So here's what happened. So check this out. I'm gonna finish this story so y'all know what happened to this brother. It was crazy. Eventually, it's revealed that this woman, who he didn't even remember who the person was. They'd never had an interaction. They'd never had a private conversation, let alone the sinister stuff. Like it wasn't like they got in the bedroom and no, none of that. In class, I think at some point he would have baby showers for his students, and he made a joke like she was pregnant, and he said, "Oh, so when does the baby hatch?" He literally said, he said, "So when do you hatch or something?" And she said that joke made her feel uncomfortable, so she files this complaint and almost ruins his entire career. And I share this story with you because this is the type of BS that our people have to deal with in corporate America, and even in academia. When just this idea of working in these spaces and these environments that are not controlled by us, not built by us, not built for us, not designed to make us feel safe, secure, and successful. They're designed to make us feel weak and subordinate and on freaking eggshells, right? And what I found through a lot of our research, we created the first ever Black financial therapy department here, and we're finding through our research that this really disrupts your mental health. It is not healthy for you to go into a war zone every single day. It is not healthy for you to constantly go into a space where you are hated and never appreciated. It is not healthy for you to go into a space where you are scared to make a move because you don't know if that move's going to ruin everything you worked for the last 30 years. One false accusation, one person decides they don't like you anymore, or just whatever. It's terrible. It's horrible. So one of the things that I just firmly believe is that if you talk about black freedom, you got to talk about economic freedom first, because economic freedom at least gives you the ability to give yourself the day off so you can go and find out what's going to make you happy. Like that's it. It's really a happiness play. So here's the deal. My wife, the point where she became the least favored Negro, in her department was when she stood by the black man in her department that was being mistreated. When she stood by him, they started treating her different. They said, "Oh, so you're one of them. Oh, you running with the Y ends or the O ends or whatever they call us under their breath, right?" So we now understand that we let you into the master's house because we thought you were just the light-skinned black woman who's going to assimilate properly, and you didn't. You stood up for a black man, even though he was right. So therefore, we're going to treat you the same way we treat him. And this is literally a true story. This is what I witnessed. And so my point is to say that um, I think that we have to reconsider this idea of mass training millions of our children to go work for white folks, because it just doesn't work. Not only does it not build any wealth, um, in fact, many of our most educated black people are gonna die in debt. We talk about all the amazing educational success of black women, which is extraordinary without a doubt. I just even think about all the women I know that went to Spelman. Every single one of them is like a lawyer, a judge, a medical doctor, or something. I mean, Lord Jesus, it's amazing, right? But then a lot of them are sitting under $100,000, $200,000 in student loan debt. And that debt, for many of us, does not ever go away. You die in that debt. And so if you work your butt off and achieve this amazing career, but then you still die in debt, what does that really mean? What does that mean? I know what it means in terms of black wealth. It doesn't mean anything good. So ultimately, when you talk about what's happening with the black economy, you talk about the Essence Music Fest. I think it's really important to look at that in the broader context of what's happening to black people in terms of the nature of our economic relationship with white people. You are in a white man's economy, but that is a conscious decision, and you don't know it was a decision because you were never told that it was a choice. So here's what so let me go into this a little bit further so I can really kind of nail this in. It doesn't sound like we're talking all around the world. I want you to connect all of it, right? So when you look at the fact that 106,000 black women lost their jobs in April, that the black female unemployment rate spiked to about 6.1%. No, sorry, it went to 5.1%. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it went from 5.1% to 6.1% in April for black women. Black men, it's still a little bit higher. 304,000 jobs have been lost since February. And also, there's a 5-month low in employment. So the number of employed black women fell from 10.2 million in April which it fell to 10.2 million in April, which is the lowest in 5 months. There's a crisis and it's deepening. A lot of it relates to things like what's going on with the big beautiful bill. As well as the new president. So if you wanted to call this, if you wanted to really talk about the Essence Music flop, if you wanted to call it that, I wouldn't call it a flop, but let's say that you did, you would have to link it to what's been going on economically in this country, right? So you got the big beautiful bill that was just passed. And a lot of people are celebrating this big, beautiful bill. I'm not one of them. I just observe what's happening and then adjust. I don't really celebrate or not celebrate things. I just see what it is. And here's the deal with the big, beautiful bill. We've talked about this. The big, beautiful bill, the studies show that 60% of the benefits of that bill go to those in the top 20% of of income, right? And also the other thing about the big beautiful bill is that it tends to benefit people that are business owners and investors. So if you look at the big beautiful bill, and I'm not saying that anyone should like it because there's a lot to like and not like about it. If you're wealthy and you care about your money, then you're going to find benefits like tax credits and incentives to start businesses, incentives to own real estate, opportunities to make money that way. But if you don't like it, then of course you wouldn't because there are cuts to things like Medicare, Medicaid, and important programs, right? So with that said, one thing about rich people, though, if you look at the top 20% of earners in America, most of them are stock market investors. So, in my view, the best thing I can do for you is to not whine and complain and scream about what they're doing in Washington because I can't change that. Is to basically tell you that I encourage you to become stock market investors because money will be made in the stock market as a result of what's being done here. The other thing about the big, beautiful bill, just as a side note, is that it's financially irresponsible because it's going to increase the national deficit quite a lot, and it's really really if you are a black Republican, which many of you are, and I don't, and I told you I don't tell you what political party you affiliate with, you should probably notice the inherent contradiction in the fact that Republicans tend to be the ones who talk about fiscal responsibility, but this bill really isn't responsible. This bill really is accelerating the economy in the short term, but it's going to have tremendous economic costs in the long term. So that's what it does. That's what it is. And also the political environment by sort of reducing things like the DEI programs and the government contract opportunities, things like that. That's probably trickled down to not just the Essence Fest, but also those businesses and individuals that might attend the Essence Fest, right? A lot of vendors who would have normally gone to the Essence Fest, who many of whom were receiving money from corporations either through DEI initiatives or were getting government contracts. A lot of that money may have been wiped away. Also, you have a lot of attendees who had DEI related positions with their jobs. I know a lot of DEI consultants, and most of them are black women. I don't think I know a single black male who was a diversity consultant with corporations who actually had corporate contracts and stuff like that. But I know about 10 black women who had roles like that. And I don't know what the fate of that is, but I know that it probably wasn't good because the world kind of abandoned DEI. Also, I would imagine the Essence Fest struggles might have come back to what happened with Target. I know that there's a big boycott against Target right now. A lot of you know this. And guess who was one of the biggest sponsors of the Essence Fest? It's Target, right? And what's interesting is that I think Target's logic might be, which Target, by the way, is not a great company. If you look at what's really fascinating is when you analyze like through Barron's and other platforms, like their assessment of why Target stock has just been plummeting, not just this year, but just generally over the last several years. It's really interesting. I saw a 2 hour deep dive, or it wasn't 2 hours, maybe it was an hour and a half deep dive into Target stock. Like, why is Target struggling? And do you know what's crazy is they didn't even mention the boycott at all. They literally were like, no, there are lots of reasons Target sucks. And they didn't even mention the boycott, which was fascinating. I was like, oh, it's got to be the boycott. It's got to be the boycott. No, they didn't even talk about the boycott. And so Target just is a terrible company in general. The boycott and their sort of objective of pissing off every Democratic affiliated black person in America, that was just a result of many that was just one of many of their stupid corporate decisions over the years, right? They're just a dumb company. And let me show you, look at this chart here. Look at Target stock. Target stock is at 104.06. If you've been an investor in Target stock for the last 5 years, you've achieved the remarkable feat of losing 12.4% of your money. So in most companies, you look at Apple, you look at Microsoft or something like that, you would see an increase, right? Most of these companies, if you bought Nvidia, Lord Jesus, you're probably rich now. Me and my wife, I think we made $100,000 off Nvidia by accident. I didn't know Nvidia was going to explode like that. We bought the stock for $8. Now it's like 150. Woohoo! I get husband of the year for that one. But you look at Target, if you've been a long-term investor in Target, you've really gotten your butt kicked financially. And this was long before the boycott. You see, this stock sucked back in 2022, 2023, 2024, right? So even before the boycott, they were already making really, really bad decisions. And now, if you look at this year, if you want to look at the last 6 months, you can see this 25% decline this year. So this decline was greater than what you might typically have with Target. But if you go the last year, it's down 30%. You go down the last 5 years, it's down 12.5%. Now, long term, if you're a long term investor, I assume that you would have made money, right? Of course, because you go way back to the 90s or something. You could have bought this stock for $5 or $6 and you still made money. But you see here, the stock was at $246 in 2021. So that's when they hit a peak. And a lot of people bought at that peak. And now it's down to 104. So overall, this little gap right here, this little area here, since the peak in 2021, is where you see the really massive decline in Target stock. But just to really sort of show you why I'm a fan of long-term investing and what something you should really understand is, let's say you've been an investor in Target since the 90s. Most of y'all were around in the 90s and you just bought a few shares every year since then. You'd still be extremely rich. Even with a horrible, crappy company like this, you would have done really well, far better than people who didn't invest, right? So remember that timing the market, meaning picking the right stock at the right time, timing the market is not as important as time in the market. If you have time in the market, historically speaking, that's where the money gets made. Now, if you want to compare Target to other companies that did better the last 5 years, if you look at Amazon, you made about 40% on your money the last 5 years. That's okay. You could do better. Let's look at Apple. The last 5 years, Apple would have they would have doubled your money, 122%. Let's look at Microsoft. Microsoft's here last 5 years. You would have doubled your money with Microsoft, about 133%. That's good. Nvidia, you would be so rich that you probably wouldn't even wake up and come to class. You'd probably just be partying in Dubai or something. Because if you own Nvidia the last 5 years, you made 1,420%, which means that you took maybe a $10 investment or a $10 stock and you watched it grow into a $159 stock. And that's what I did. I bought Nvidia, and the reason I bought Nvidia was not because I knew Nvidia was going to blow up. I told you all this about stock market investing. All the research says you cannot predict the direction of an individual stock. So stop trying to do it. Just stop it. Stop doing it. It doesn't work. All the research says, I read thousands of papers on this. It's been concluded. You can't do that. People are going to lie to you, but they don't have a doctorate in finance. I do. I'm telling you, stop doing that. I bought Nvidia because I think some of you heard the story. I'll share it again, hopefully very quickly. Our oldest son, came to me one day, and I'm the boneless dad in the house, and I was looking for ways to talk to the kids about stuff because it takes time to get to know them. Their mother loved me, but they didn't like me as much as she did until they got to know me, right? Because I wasn't their boyfriend, and so one day he just comes up and he just says, Boyce, I think you should buy Nvidia stock. And I said, why? He said, well, because they make the chips for the video games that I play. And I said, okay, great. And my thinking was not, oh, well, let me do 10 weeks of deep dive analysis on Nvidia to make sure that I'm not going to lose my money. My thought was basically very basic. It was, this really happens many times when I look at companies in the S&P. A lot of people will spend days, weeks, years asking why they should buy a certain stock. Or why should I buy it? Right? I don't ask myself why I should buy something. You know what I say? I say, why not? Why not? Really, I mean, think about it. If I'm going to go and spend money at Applebee's, I know what I'm going to get For that, I'm not going to get a return on investment. I'm going to get a meal that's going to go run through my body in about 24 hours. If I spend my money on a vacation, I know that I'm going to get a negative 100% return on that. I'm going to get a good experience, but I'm not going to get any money back, right? If I spend my money on a pair of Jordans, I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a pair of shoes. But if I buy the stock, you never know. Maybe that dollar will turn into $2. Maybe that 100 will turn into 200. Maybe that 500 will turn into 1,000. Or maybe the 500 will turn into 400. Maybe the stock will go down like it did with Target. But that's okay because you know what? You know what? Because 90% of all people, if you ask them, if you say, the money that you had in 2020, all the money you made $75,000 in 2020, what do you have to show for it? 90% of all people are going to say, I have nothing to show for it. Well, but you made money that year, didn't you? Yeah, I made money. Well, and you did things with that money, right? Well, yeah, I did stuff with that money. Well, then you should have something to show for it, right? What do you have to show for it? Nothing. You should have money in the bank. I mean, you made all this money. Did you put some in a bucket? Did you invest it somewhere? Did you buy some real estate? Did you? No. Okay, can you at least show me? Maybe at best they can show you some clothes that they bought in 2020 that they probably don't even wear anymore. They can show you maybe some furniture they bought. Like I bought this couch. That feels a little bit better. Like at least you got a couch out of it. But that ain't the same as actually having financial security because the day that you have to go to work, you can't or you have bills to pay, you can't go and just say, "Well, I don't have money, but I have a couch. I can send you my couch." Right? So my point is to say that the reason I bought Nvidia stock was not because I knew Nvidia stock was going to blow up. It's because when I look at a company and it's a solid company that does good business, I just say, well, why not? Yeah, okay. And that's what I did. And so not only did I get the benefit of watching my $8,000 turn into $110,000, but I also got the benefit of forming a deeper connection with our son, which really that's something money can't buy. He and I are best buddies now. We talk all day. He makes jokes like, "Yeah, you owe me money for that Nvidia recommendation." I'm like, "Yeah, I sure do, but you ain't gonna get it. So you're gonna have to whoop me to take that money. And you can't whoop me because you're skinny." So anyway, my point is to say overall that investing should be something you do just naturally, and the reason you should do it naturally is because that's going to improve your financial health. It's also going to allow you to solve some of these problems that we talked about earlier. One of the biggest things that I was bringing up earlier when we were talking about the Essence Fest and the downturn of the black economy is that it is my view that the black economy suffers because we have an over dependence, over reliance, too deep of a connection to the white economy. The black economy suffers when the white economy stops deciding to be generous. When white folks stop giving jobs, we start suffering financially. When DEI programs get cut, our economics get cut. When government contracts are gone, then that income stream is gone. And so again, I mentioned to you all, and this is 100% clear. I had this conversation in the very beginning, 15, 20 years ago, before anybody even knew what my name was or what I was doing. I told my brother, I said, if we're going to build something that's really going to succeed, it has to be economically resilient. Now, I have an advantage. I trained under a guy named Renee Stoltz, who was one of the best on earth at something called risk management. All we would do, I proofread. He had this gigantic textbook he was writing, and I had to proofread this freaking book about how to assess risk, how to watch out, how to watch your back, how to make sure that when the thunderstorm comes, you're not gonna get wet, you're not gonna get left ass out. You got to look around for every single threat that might possibly exist in terms of what you're doing. And that was when I came to the conclusion. I said, I don't know if black people do that enough. I don't know that we spend plenty of time being scared. We're very good at being scared. It's very easy to scare a black person. Just check out every election and notice how often they scare you to get you to vote for their candidate, right? So it's easy to scare black people. But I said, I don't know if we're afraid of the right things. I don't know if we understand the inherent economic threat and just the clear and present danger of training millions of our children to go work for their oppressors and beg for jobs and then live paycheck to paycheck and hope nothing goes wrong. I said, man, that you standing on the edge of a cliff on one leg, right? Trying to take a selfie, right? Like on a windy day, you stand on the edge of a cliff on a windy day with one leg trying to take a selfie, and you don't. And you don't understand that all it takes is somebody come along and shove you, or a strong gust of wind to come along, and next thing you know, you're falling off that cliff. So I think that is inherently, I don't think, I know this is inherently contradictory to the natural conservative nature of black people. I think that being conservative is good. I think not politically. I'm not talking about socially conservative. I'm talking about economically conservative. And here's the thing about conservatism. You know what that is. Your grandmother was probably conservative. How many of y'all had grandparents that just didn't really like to take a lot of chances? They because maybe they grew up in the deep south where taking chances could get you killed, or they've seen consequences of people, running the streets, talking back to the cops, right? Right, getting involved, becoming drug dealers, getting in messed up, getting into stuff. And so your naturally conservative nature, I believe, would serve you well in your economics, but you have to translate the two and not let yourself be hypnotized or tricked into taking risks that you shouldn't take. Because what happens is that, to some extent, capitalism really is the devil. Capitalism is, it's the devil because it can lull you to sleep. It can connect you to these materialistic addictions that can cause you to let go of money that you may need later on. My grandmother had a saying that she shared with me. You probably heard this, that you save your money so your money can save you. So if you have money, then you have power. When you let money go, you're giving your power away. And the problem is that you may run into a situation where you may need your power in order to keep yourself safe. So these are not just financial ideas. These are related to just wellness, mental health. Your mental health is better when you're financially secure. Every study shows this. Years ago, when I was at Syracuse, I wrote a book called Financial Lovemaking. And when I wrote that book, Financial Lovemaking, I became really educated about women and how important financial security was to women. Every study out there pretty much says this is bad news for the fellas. You got to fix this. That when you ain't got no money and you can't provide financial security for the woman and the children, she is just not going to be as attracted to you. I hate saying it like this, but it's just true. She's just not. She's like, no, I don't want to be in a situation where we're scrapping for nickels. And I know everybody thinks it's supposed to be all about love. Like if I love you, I'm supposed to just die for you and go through hell with you. And I don't think that's realistic. I don't expect my wife to want to be with a man that can't provide financial security, competence, and stability on a regular basis. If I was creating a scenario that was making her anxious and creating just lots of instability and anxiety for her, it would not surprise me if she was interested in being in spaces or with people that allowed her to feel that security. So, to some extent, the heavy economic dependence of the black female on the corporation, on the government, on marrying the white man comes from the fact that America is a country that's so dastardly that they've stripped away the black man's ability to provide the tools of financial stability that are going to make her feel good. Right? I believe that. I believe this is sinister. I believe this is part of the game. This is what they did. So the question then becomes, if now that you know the game, now that we've solved the Scooby-Doo mystery, now that we know that wascally wabbit of a white man, we know what he did, right? We know, oh, we know what you did. You created the welfare state and you told them they had to take the black man out of the house in order for you to get your check, and you make sure the black men have the lowest unemployment rate so he can't provide financial security. So now she turns to you. Now Joe Biden becomes her husband, and between Joe Biden and white Jesus and the corporation, that becomes not just her source of security, but the place she respects more than she respects you. There's a whole conversation to be had about that, and I agree with all of that. I'm sorry, I've seen it. I've been like, yeah, she don't respect you because you can't, because she's looking toward the space of security. That's all like this collective craziness that racism has done to us. At that point, my question then becomes very simple. It becomes like, okay, now that you've unraveled the game, now that you understand it, what are you going to do about it? Okay, you figured it out. It's like the villain in the movie, how they do the slow clap. Congratulations, doctor. You figured it all out, right? And he's holding the knife and he's got you swinging above like a pool full of alligators, and he does the slow clap and he tells you the whole plan, right? Right. So now you know the whole plan. You know exactly what they were doing to you. You figured it out. You unraveled it. So now that we know what the plan was, I don't want us to just sit around and repeat the plan. I don't want us to sit around and just complain about the plan or get outraged about the plan or just repeat it ad nauseum. I want to know what's the next plan? What's the plan? What's the plan to counter the plan? Right? Do you see what I mean? Like we know what happened now. We know how we got here. How do we get to where we want to get to? Or is that the part of the conversation that's not interesting to you? Because I can tell you, I believe victimhood is an addiction. I think that there's psychology to support this. One day in class, we'll break down the psychology behind victimhood and how sometimes we can become comfortable in victimhood. There's like a natural moral high ground that comes with victimhood. Like if I can always proclaim myself the victim, then I win automatically because I get to make you look like a bad person. But really, I'm not really winning. I just get to feel like I'm winning. There's also helplessness. Helplessness is an addiction as well, right? So the question then becomes, how do we move past that and have the conversations that need to be had? What is that solution? Well, lucky for all of us, there are people that are trained in the solution. Um, all I did was study money for 20 something years, 30 years. Since 1990, I taught my first class on economics and money when I was 22 years old at the University of Kentucky. All I've spent my time doing was thinking about financial solutions, like ways out. How do you fix this? How do you get away from that? And a couple clear solutions I'll lay out for you is number one, I think any smart parent will never, ever in a million years, in a billion years, train their black child to go and only depend on this racist economy to give them what they need financially. That's the first thing. Never, son, I'm sorry, son. You can get a job if you want to, that's fine. But you never, ever, ever take a job because you have to take it. You take it because you want to take it. You go to work because you want to, not because you have to. Rule number one. You will not just, and you will not just learn one way to make money. We're not just gonna, send you on this, like, go to school, make good grades, and get a good job track. We're not doing that because that's leading to a lot of economic pain. So what we're going to do is we're going to train you on that, but then we're going to train you on all the different plan B, plan C, plan D setups that you have to have so you can embrace the economic conservatism that will allow you to be safe no matter what they try to do to you because they're going to try to do it to you because you're black. That's the black economics is very different from white economics. We have a different level of resources. We have different hurdles, different barriers. I do think African American people are a little more hated than everyone else. And also, there's this long held tradition of even, not just disliking you, but really distorting your image to the world to the point where the rest of the world views you in a certain way, puts you in a certain box, which limits certain opportunities that you're going to have. If I show up as a black man to Google, it's easy for me to get into Google if I'm there to entertain them. If they are having an office party and they need a rapper or a comedian, then I'm going to be their guy. But if I say, no, actually, I want to be an engineer and I want to go in there with all those Asians and Indians and white people and I want to program the next AI startup or whatever it is, that's not really going to work as well for me because there's certain perceptions people have of me and my culture that are going to make it tougher for me to break into those spaces. We've seen this. This is true. This is a statistical fact. So generally, I don't train my son, my black son, or my daughter either, to just use the job as a way to get what they want. Number two, we talk about financial security as just a necessity. Saving, investing, all these other things are absolutely essential. You never ever the idea of even trying to live paycheck to paycheck if you don't have to is crazy. So before I ever see you spend one nickel on BS, I need to make sure you're saving your nickels before you're spending your nickels. That means that you bet not ever show me one pair of Jordans, not one fancy outfit, not one expensive vacation, not one night at the club that you've done when you haven't, before you do these things, put money in your stock portfolio, put money towards your real estate so you can buy that property and become a real estate owner. If you have a business, you're putting money into the business, whatever it is you got to do, saving your savings account, all these things get addressed before you start feeding the white man his money back. Before you start feeding him, you feed yourself. This is not complex. These are simple ideas. Financial security is a tip top priority, number one, period, without a doubt. We can go deeper. There's other things too. For example, all the different ways there are to make money. A job is not the only way to make money, but you'd be amazed how many people only know how to make money if they get a job. The best skill that I've ever seen, to me, the most valuable skill that a person can have is to know how to sell something. Because if you can sell something, you can make money. If you can sell something and you are trained on the basics of entrepreneurship, then you can go into a room full of people and you can say, okay, there's 50 people in here. Everybody's got money in their pocket. Let me figure out what these people need so I can sell them something so they will be happy to give me their money so that then I can make my money and I can do this without a job. Because here's the deal. Here's what I need you to understand. The black man can't just look for a job. The black man needs to know how to create a job for himself. You can't just go look for opportunities. You got to learn where opportunities come from. You have to be the most industrious, most creative, most ambitious person on the planet. And it has to be done in a way where you understand how to get around a system that doesn't always have a space for you. And I'm saying this as a person who understands this. As a young black man, I have no idea. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Nobody in my family is like me. I don't know where it came from. Nobody in my family is like me. I didn't grow up in a family where it was like "Assalamu alaikum, black man." No, I didn't grow up with it. I just had a sense of justice. When I was little, my mother used to say, "Boy, your mouth will either make you great or get you killed." I'm curious to see which one. And I don't know where it came from, but I would argue. I would say, "Mama, that ain't fair." We would have arguments and go back and forth, and then I'd start winning the argument, and then she would say, "If you keep talking, I'm gonna knock your teeth out." Or she didn't say that, but it would. I did get whoopings, and I deserved about probably 80% of them. And still though, like it just came. So here's the deal. So what happens is years later, the more educated I become, education became a curse for me because I started observing things. I became a deeply hyper analytical. I would look at stuff. I do that to this day. I can't help it. I'll be in a room and I'll just look at everything. The people, how they talk to each other, what's going on. And the flower pots, the color of the room, the shape. I analyze it. So I would analyze the world the same way. And I would say, this ain't right. This is some bull crap, man. This is crazy. And so when you think like that and you're black, there's certain opportunities you're just not going to get because you're asking questions. You're challenging things, and when you speak on these ideas, you get identified in a certain way. So I got identified and labeled as a troublemaker or a dangerous Negro when I was about 24, 25 years old because I started doing this publicly. So what happened was I had so many well-intended black people who would whisper to me like we in the slave quarters with, well, you knows that if you keeps talking like that, you's not gonna get the good jobs. They gonna come take your job. Like I would get those slave quarter conversations from people. When, Massa's gonna read them articles, Boyce, and I loves you, so I don't want nothing bad to happen to you, boy. Boy, you best keep your mouth shut, boy. Right? I would get that literally from so many people who were well intended, and I'd be like, why are we whispering and why are we scared? And there's nothing that can you prove that what I said is factually wrong? Or are you just telling me that I have to fit in to something that just doesn't make any sense? Because that's very painful for me. I think it's painful for you too. I think it's painful for all of us to try to make sense of something that don't make no damn sense. Racism don't make no damn sense. Oppression doesn't make no damn sense. 98% of y'all working for white folks don't make no damn sense. White people having 98% of the wealth don't make no damn sense. The way they mistreat us don't make no damn sense. So why in the world should we sit here and tolerate it? Well, the reason that we end up having to tolerate it is because it comes down to power. It's just like when I used to argue with my mother. When me and my mother would argue and I would start winning the argument, my mother would remember that she had power and I didn't. She was 30 and I was 9. And so she would say, well, because I said so. And that's what I feel white America does to black people. You come up and you march and you rally and you prove that they're wrong and you say this ain't right and blah 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 and they say, well, it's going to go this way because we said so. Or you say you show all the statistics and all the analysis and you say, well, according to our data, DEI programs increase corporate profits and they actually make the organization better and black people are misrepresented at the blah blah. And they're like, yeah, but we're going to get rid of the program because we said so. What you going to do about it? Or you say, well, Taekwon was really a great employee and he did a great job and he was better than the white guy who got promoted over him. And they're like, yeah, but we kind of like the white guy more than Taekwon, so we're gonna let him go. And it's just gonna happen because we said so, because we have power. And so what is clear is that Black freedom cannot be disjointed from Black economics, and Black economics must be rooted in a true, meaningful commitment to Black power. Power is something that is typically only accumulated if you're willing to sacrifice for it. Um, some of us ain't ready to make a sacrifice. Some of us, give me one second here. Some of us think that we're gonna be able to line dance our way into Black power, or that our Black power is gonna show up, while we're all at the Diddy parties wearing Gucci, or that the Black power is gonna show up with us continuing to do the same things we've been doing and somehow expecting a different result. Um, the power typically comes through sacrifice. And I think the question then becomes at that point, and this is the most important investing question I'm going to ask you today. And then I'm going to take a moment and I want you to think about this as I step away to plug in my laptop because I don't want it to go out. What are you willing to sacrifice to obtain your Black power, your Black freedom, or whatever it is? What are you willing to sacrifice? And I want you to think about that as I plug this in. Hold on. Because if you're not willing to sacrifice, then you're never going to have it. I don't care how much they promise it to you, or they swear they're going to do the right thing. It's like an abusive relationship. You got your ex that's saying, "Baby, baby, please," and I'll never punch you again, and I'm gonna always treat you well, and and that's what they do. They keep us addicted to hope. And so so not to say that this all connects to what's going on with like the Essence Fest. I bought the Essence Fest because I think the Essence Fest struggles are connected to a deeper economic decline, which is the result of decisions that were made by people that we were heavily dependent upon, which exposed us to a wide variety of economic risks that we were not aware of. A lot of times you don't know the risk of the situation you're in until the chickens come home to roost. So while you had the DEI initiatives, you have the corporate goodwill, you had the good government job, you had all these things that were providing income, not just to attendees of the Essence Fest, maybe vendors of the Essence Fest, maybe to Essence itself. And then when they decide to sort of pull that rug away, you're kind of stuck. And a lot of times the reason we're stuck is because number one, if you're not diversified financially, you have to be protected. You have to get your income from multiple sources, and not to say the Essence people aren't. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be fine. I'm thinking about that business owner who runs a consulting firm, and they have two or three big corporate clients that hire them as a DEI consultant, and then suddenly DEI is gone, and then suddenly everything's kind of done. Or that person that has that really good job, and then suddenly the company goes in a different direction, and then there's financial challenges that come from that. And this is America. America has a long history of being committed to something until it's not fun anymore. And then that's what they did in the Vietnam War. If you study the fall of Saigon, you'll know that that was a time where they got the half of the Vietnamese country, the South, to depend on the Americans financially and militarily. And then the Americans got bored, decided to cut their support, and then suddenly Saigon fell. And then next thing you know, entire families were being slaughtered in the street, and they had no military defense anymore because they became heavily dependent on a group of people that are not really committed to much of anything. And so this to me, the fall of DEI is the black economic version of the fall of Saigon. When they took away the DEI, they took away financial security for a lot of people. When they take away government contracts, I know so many people, especially in DC, that have been hammered financially because of this. When they take away your job, it throws you into an immediate fit of economic stress, financial anxiety, and desperation that that really isn't entirely necessary, that perhaps could be prevented if saving and investing in financial security were a tip top priority, which means that when times are good, You're spending your energy preparing for when times are bad. You get a bonus. You're not running to buy a new Ford Explorer because you saw it advertised on BET. You get extra money. You're not running to the club popping bottles of Ciroc like Diddy used to tell everybody to do. You're not taking that money and going out and buying luxury brands. You're saying, no, we don't want any of that. I want to prepare for when times get bad because I know that I'm black and I know that at some point they're going to come get me and I need to be ready for that. So I'm going to stockpile and prepare and store my nuts for the winter. That means I'm going to save my ass off. I'm saving 10-20% of my income like my grandma used to do. And then at that point, I'm going to take that money. I'm going to take 10-20% of my income. And it's before I go spend it, I'm going to put that in the stock market like Dr. Boyce says we should do. And then after that, we're going to go and we're going to put some money in that in this business so that we can have multiple streams of income, develop that side hustle so that in case something goes wrong, we're going to be prepared. What else can you do? Well, we're a family unit. I'm married to my wife. We help each other survive economically. So not only am I investing in my assets, I'm investing in my wife because my wife is an asset that is more valuable than money because that's my teammate, that's my partner, that diversifies our revenue stream so that if I say, hey, baby, I'm having a bad month, or hey, babe, I'm having a financial crisis, my wife says, okay, that's all right. I got something over here that can help us through this rainy day, right? We're not running through life thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be single and mingle and just live my best life and only focus on me because at that point, all you got is me. All you got is you. And all the statistics pretty much say that if there's just you, versus there being two of you or three of you, then one of you is in greater risk than you would be if you were part of an economic collective or some sort of gang, right? I'm not telling everybody to run out and get married, but I'm telling you, even the way people talk about family and relationships is all wrong. You should factor financial security into how you choose relationships. No, you don't go sleep with the man just because he got the biggest wing wong. That means you might have an addiction that needs to be addressed. No, you don't go pick the girl because she got the biggest booty. Chasing big booties is not like chasing big opportunities. So you can find a lady that looks sexy and still can provide a secured life for you and can have your back and can be a good partner in life. Why in the world are you even laying down with that person when you know that that person might be not just someone who can't help you survive economically, but they might actually be the cause of your demise? A lot of us invite really horrible people into our lives because we're attracted to them. And that's really sad to me. That's very sad. And I'm not judging. I want to get off of that because people think I sound judgy. I'm not trying to sound judgy, but I want you to really go look and see how many single people are financially insecure. And I want you to think about how many of us pick people based on what we want instead of picking people based on what we need. The balance between the two, right? Like my wife, I wanted my wife when I saw her, I just lusted after her like a fat kid with on an ice cream cone on a hot summer day. So I wanted her, but I also realized I needed her, right? I didn't meet my wife in the club. I met her in the library. I don't. She's not a person that's gonna. She knew I had money. I knew she had some money, but we didn't run through each other's money because we both value financial security, saving and investing. So we'll talk about investing in an asset before we talk about wasting money on some material item. It doesn't mean you can't get the nice stuff. You can have the nice stuff. You know, my wife drives the Mercedes. She's bougie like that, but she didn't get the most expensive Mercedes and she didn't uh, invest in that Mercedes before she invested in her 401k. Do you understand? Right? So really it's a matter of balance. And I think sometimes we get lulled to sleep. I think integration and everything else and believing in diversity and all that, I think that lulled us to sleep. And when you get lulled to sleep, you're not thinking about security. It's just like if you're in a war and you go to sleep as a soldier and you fall asleep, you don't know that you're vulnerable. Like I was watching Squid Games, and if you've seen has anybody watched Squid Games? That's a crazy show. It's crazy. And in Squid Games, it's like basically this thing where all these people get together and they're playing this game and they're all trying to kill each other. And if you don't die, then you win. So so people would at nighttime people would go to sleep in the Squid Games, and I was like, how did they sleep in the Squid Games? Like somebody could walk up and cut your throat while you're sleeping, right? So I think that as black people, we don't realize we're in the Squid Games. We're in the Squid Games, the Hunger Games, whatever you want to call it. And I just don't understand how you can sleep so well knowing that there are threats around every corner. That's my view on this. So so anyway, A couple final points I want to make on this in terms of the Essence thing. I'm not here to poo-poo on the Essence Fest. I think the Essence Fest is great. I like it a lot. And I hope you'll join us at the All Black National Convention. That's going to happen um, August 21st to the 23rd. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com if you want to bring your family, bring your friends, bring whoever. Thousands of people are going to be there. Dr. Ken Harris is a great guy. He has a PhD in economics and Africana studies from Michigan State University, and I have so much respect for this guy. And the National Business League, that's the organization he's the president of. They started 125 years ago by Booker T. Washington, and we're in our 10th anniversary for the All Black National Convention. So we decided to partner this year. So there's going to be thousands of people that are family oriented, thousands of people that are business oriented. There are thousands of people that are interested in financial security. There are thousands of people who ain't scared to be black, and also the goal is to have intelligent interactions no matter where they lie, right? So I don't care what political party you're in. I don't care about things like that. It's really a matter of helping you level up. What does that look like? What does leveling up look like? And that's what the convention does. Is when you go there, I guarantee you, you're going to feel a power up. You're also going to have a strategy. You're going to have people that can help you implement the strategy. You're going to meet people there that will change your life. I guarantee you. So feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And I feel like since I really talked all over the place with the Essence Fest, in case for those that are new, this is what we do. We just get together and I just whatever God tells me to say about economics, it just comes out. So sometimes it doesn't come out as articulately as I want. So that's what we do. But since we did all that and you hung out for the entire video, let me give you something back. There's a stock that I just bought. Again, this is not invested advice. It's just me telling you what I bought. You may want to take a look at it. This company has the ticker symbol COLD, cold, COLD. And let me tell you about this company. It's a real estate company and a real estate investment trust that invests in like cold storage. Let me see here. It's the company's called Americold Realty, ticker symbol COLD, just like cold, like ice, ice baby, like cold ice. It's a real estate investment trust that specializes in temperature controlled logistics and warehousing, particularly for the food supply chain. The analysis is so I'm gonna tell you. So its current stock price is $16.88. The company has a $5 billion market cap. And apparently, there's a strong demand for cold storage. The global demand for temperature controlled logistics continues to grow, driven by increasing consumption of perishable goods, e commerce, grocery expansion, and pharmaceutical storage needs. The company has 239 facilities across North America and globally that provide critical infrastructure for food and beverage companies. They have a pretty resilient business model, so they are a real estate investment trust. So they generate predictable cash flows through long-term leases with major clients like Kraft Heinz and Conagra. And this is what's interesting. Sometimes what a company's business model appears to be isn't what it actually is. Like McDonald's, a lot of people don't know. They think McDonald's is in the business of making hamburgers, when really McDonald's is pretty much a real estate company. It's a fascinating model. They basically what they do is they sell these franchises to people, and that they purchase, and then they lease they own the land that you lease from McDonald's. And when you're leasing this property, they train you how to make hamburgers and hope that you sell enough hamburgers to make your money back. And then they take a small percentage of the hamburger money, but they're also collecting the lease. So they're basically like almost like a co-working space. Like I'm going to rent out all these different spaces so that people can start little businesses. I'm going to show them how to start the business and take a little cut. But for the most part, the money I'm making is the rent they're paying to come in and do this. So it's what they call a picks and shovels model business, where you're not really trying to go dig for gold. You're just selling people picks and shovels that they use to go dig for gold. So anyway, so a lot of people believe that this stock is undervalued. So the current stock price is 16.88, which is a 52-week low or near the 52-week low. The high has been $30.45. There is a belief by some that this stock is going to return to its previous glory. I can't guarantee that at all, but I am going to make that investment because I told you before that my question when I make an investment is not why should I make it? It's like, well, why not? Okay, so let's say I own this stock, I buy $1,000 worth, and let's say 5 years from now it's only worth 900 bucks. Okay, at least I have $900 to show for money that had 5 years ago. Most people don't have anything to show for it. They got some clothes or shoes or something, right? So don't overthink it. I think that's the biggest deal when it comes to investing. Don't overthink it. Don't scare yourself out of your blessing. And right now, the market's been doing really well. I know a lot of you are making money. Right? Give me a yes in the chat if you're making money in the stock market. I hope everybody says yes. Give me a yes if your portfolio is feeling good and you have more financial flexibility. And give me a yes. Let's consciously talk about this, right? How many of you feel freer now that you have more money? How many of you feel like, man, life is better, like life is good, like you wake up and the sun shines a little bit brighter, and you just feel a little bit more empowered? Do you feel that? I'm gonna tell you, nothing makes us feel better more than like a little money in your pocket. Like this is how goofy I am. Like when it comes to like giving gifts to the kids or whatever, I don't try to figure out if I'm gonna pick a gift that you're gonna like or not like. Like I don't want to pick a dress for our daughter and have her go, "Oh, this is ugly," because my taste is probably terrible. I'm just like, okay, let me just give you some money. I know that's gonna work. That's kind of an all-purpose gift. Or let's go to the mall and I'll give you money at the mall and then you pick what you want, right? So money is like that in the sense that money itself has no value. Remember, all money pretty much is these worthless green pieces of paper that that the government issues to you, right? So you get this worthless green piece of paper, and I got some like little multicolored pieces of paper too because I was just in Europe. So you get this worthless little green piece of paper that means absolutely nothing, but it means everything though, right? In the sense that when you have it, you then have because you are intelligent, because you are a thinker, and that's my goal. My goal is to encourage you to really think deeply about things. I don't care how smart you are. You're going to be better off if you spend more time thinking about things. Because you're a thinker, you're going to be able to think of wonderful ways that this little worthless green piece of paper can enhance your life. And that's the goal. I'm not trying to just get you to the money. I'm trying to get you to all the wonderful things that lie beyond the money. I'm not just getting you to have the money. I want you to overcome the obstacles that have been created by the money. Because for a lot of us, there are so many things that we want to do that we know would make us happy, but we don't have the money to do it, or we have to go do something to get money because we don't have enough of it, right? And so once you get the money, and then you have the self-love, the creativity, the thoughtfulness to know what's truly going to make you happy, and it ain't going to just be a Gucci bag. It might be at first, but then it's going to be something deeper than that. Then you have that power and that freedom. There are those words again. Those words pop up a lot in the Black community: power and freedom. You have the power and freedom to go pursue those things that you now have access to that you didn't have access to before. And that is the goal. That is the goal. See, this is the thing. In economics, money's not really super important in economics. Money is this thing that can go down in value and up in value and all that in economics. Really, what you're aiming for is something called utility. Utility is beyond the money. So money can be a tool to increase utility, but utility is so much bigger than money. So I want you to have utility. I don't want you to just have money. Because there's plenty of Negroes out here that got plenty of money, not happy, not secure, not free, enslaved. Life sucks. Look at Diddy. This man had all the money. He's sitting up in jail right now, and he ain't getting out. I mean, he's not going to get the sentence that he was going to get before. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm old school. I think he killed Tupac. I ain't gonna lie. I think they need to go back to 1996, right? But to the original sin. But whatever, man. Whatever. Have your opinion, whatever you want, right? But still, I never saw him as a person that was happy. I saw a person that was cursed because he had everything he wanted, but it wasn't enough. Like if you look at those weird things he had to do in the bedroom just to have something as simple as an orgasm, like just weird, crazy things like I need to see blood and we gotta have drugs and I need you to stab him 2 times and I need 10 people in the room, right? Like just to need all that, just to have something that basic, something that God blessed you with, that if used in with the proper balance can be a wonderful experience. He couldn't even have that. So I would never want to trade places with that poor man, especially if he's in jail. But even when he's out, it's like, man, like that, you're really kind of trapped, and I feel bad for you for that. So don't ever think money automatically gives you freedom. It doesn't. Money can be a big, massive curse. Anyway, that's it. I'm done talking. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you. The convention, if you want to join us, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, if you want to join us in stock market class, we do have a stock market class. It's called drboystockmarket.com, and we meet every Tuesday for Stock Market Tuesday. So if you find that stocks are interesting for you, feel free to go to Dr. Boyce Stock Market. If you're not on the text list for this class every morning, pull out your phone, text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. And one more thing I'll mention too is we do have a Black Wealth store. Or Black Wealth Mastery Store. That's actually the official title. And so we have different sections. We go to drboycebooks.com. You can get copies of my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, Financial Lovemaking. I mentioned that book earlier. My wife has stuff in there. There she is. Ain't she pretty? I love my wife. And she has stuff in there for couples and families. She isn't just a full professor of social work. She's also a relationship therapist, and she's a trauma expert. And so we've been really studying the impact of trauma on Black economics, and the findings have been just really fascinating. So she has workbooks on things like financial anxiety, basically healing for couples, things like that. Also, we have lots of resources for children. So there's a whole section there. So if you go to drboycebooks.com, we'd love it if you bookmarked the page and just kind of came in to just see if there's something there that can help you. We try to have stuff there for everybody. Because our goal is to create the next great HBCU. And so we already have over 250,000 students around the world. And we're proud of this because we built this without any corporate sponsorship. We built this without any money from the government because all money ain't good money. We want money that's going to help us to really grow and to be free and to solve the problem. And that's what we're doing. And thank you guys for being a part of this. So it's drboycebooks.com if you want to take a look. So have a wonderful day, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I will send you all a text and let you guys know when we get started. So thank you for hanging out with me.